Yo, what's up, guys? This is Cordsy from Gaming Legit, bringing you some Killzone 3 beta gameplay. Yeah, this game actually comes out in a few weeks. February 22nd, it's the 5th right now, but it's still labeled as a beta, which is really cool. They haven't like fully, settled for it. They're still looking for fixes, just like every game developer should. That's how games work. We are here to critique them and try to get the best performing online game as we possibly can, maximize balance and the fun factor, all that kind of stuff. There's some stuff I can already see that to me are going to be a problem online. It has to do with class abilities. One particular, actually, all I can think of is one class that I have a problem with. Other than that, this game is just brilliant online. Look at the freaking graphics. The graphics, this game is beautiful. It is amazing. Everybody was hyping up Crysis 2 as being like this amazing game graphically. Like it was going to be, it is so good on PC that people assumed that it was going to be like crazy good in the console. But honestly, like when I first put in that game, the first thing that came to my head was not anything involving the graphics. But this game, I can't help every single time I put this game in to like just be blown away by how beautiful this game looks online. It just looks so freaking good. I don't think Crysis 2 is even close to a rival graphically for this game, but I don't know. Maybe, and I come from unbiased eyes, no joke. I am unbiased when it comes to graphics for games. I'm just purely what's coming out of my eyes too, so it's not a fanboy thing or anything like that. And so what's your guys' judgment? Do you think that this game looks better online than Crysis, or am I just crazy? Do I got like some kind of crazy lens over my eyes that void me from being able to see the beautiful graphics that are Crysis 2 that everybody are talking about? No, I know Crysis 2 for the PC is a totally different story, as is most games for the PC, but I'm talking for the console and console alone. They adjusted the controls brilliantly. Like, they still have a weightiness feel to them. There's still these like hardcore Killzone 2 fanboys that hide behind the lag of the controls and try to defend them for everything they are. But there's no sense of doing that. Like, there's no justifying those controls. Like, I understand what they were trying to do with the game, try to change it, trying to make it a different, gritty, hardcore, weighted feel to an online shooter. But to be honest, it was way unrealistically too weighty. Like, you couldn't even manage your character. It was pretty bad. It got to the point where I was able to manage him to the best as I could, but there was still amount of sensitivity and fine movement that I couldn't compensate for, like just because the game wouldn't allow it. And people kind of defended the old Killzone 2's controls as the more skill based. But honestly, with the size of the reticle and how you can hip fire from 100 yards and be accurate within the size of that reticle, it was not a super skill based control. And it's something that like you hear argued all the time by these Killzone 2 fanboys that try to defend him. But honestly, guys, this is the best type of control setup. They are kind of pissed. There's some of the hardcore guys that are super pissed at the controls, and they're posting these threads, and the threads say like Killzone 3 equals Hellgan edition of the Call of Duty. Totally not true. These controls are nowhere near Call of Duty. Those guys obviously don't play Call of Duty, because I still find troubles managing my aim and fire in Killzone 2. It is still one of the hardest shooters I find online to aim accurately and just be a god online. I just can't do it in this game. I have a lot of difficulty doing it. As you can see, there's several times where tracking some targets, it's still not like a Call of Duty. It's not anywhere close, and so the comparison is just like, it's retarded. The controls are still completely different, but they did a perfect blend of the weightiness to responsiveness. It's totally unique to Killzone still, but it works, and it works well. That's like probably the biggest thing that people are curious about when it comes to Killzone 3. Something not related completely to the class I'm playing at, but something I totally need to address is the Infiltrator class. Now, I personally haven't played with it, and so until I completely test the Infiltrator class, I can't fully defend and back up what I'm gonna say about the class. But playing against it, this is where I'm coming from on a lot of this perspective and point of views that I'm gonna come up with next. Now, several times you've seen me shoot at my teammates, and it's because it seems to be the only counter I have that I can think of, other with not being the marksman class, to be able to figure out if someone's cloaked as the infiltrator enemy. So the infiltrator class has an ability to cloak to look just like every single one of my teammates. They have the green name that shows up, their outfit completely changes, and you can completely tell a Helgan versus the ISA completely. They did a very good job with that. It's not one of those things where they just all look the same. They look completely different, and so you know who's your teammate and who's not your teammate just visually, let alone the green on the top of their head. And so the cloak ability in Killzone 3, not only do they look like like your teammates, they get the green above their name, and when you drag your reticle from the hip over top of them, it shows up green as well. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. The counter to the infiltrator class, to me, would be to be able to use your reticle to move over top of the enemy and have that reticle turn red. I don't need their name to turn red, but at least the reticle turn red. And now I don't know if it's unlockable for the infiltrator class that boosts their cloaking ability, but some of them, or almost all of them actually, have there's no way of being able to tell without putting a few shots onto guys that you might potentially think as being cloaked infiltrators, to figure out whether or not they're your team or not. And so that's why you see me shooting my teammates every once in a while. I put a couple shots into them to see if I get some red reticle or red hit markers from shooting at my teammates, because you never know who's an infiltrator and who's not. And I ran into so many infiltrators so far online. It's like the new go-to class in this game. I don't know what's going on with it, but and I think they like using it because they can use it and sprint up really close and to get the cool assassinations, and it's like the new hip thing to do now. I have no idea, but it is quite annoying, and the only counter I see to it currently is the marksman class that lets you spot enemy targets, and that only works if he's in front of you in your display when you do your mark. And so if you are if you know way more about Killzone than I do and you're a big Killzone player, please hit up in the comment section, because I totally read all of my comments for all of my videos, and let me know if there's any counter that I don't know of, because right now if you're playing as any other class like the medic, there's just no way of being able to tell other than just putting a couple shots on target. And the reason why this is such a problem is because not only now I have to focus on the objective and killing the enemy, but also looking at my teammates and going, is that one of my teammates or is that not one of my teammates? And it's not like every once in a while you run into an infiltrator. You run into that class all the time. So I can kind of see it as being an exploit and an issue for it just causes too much mayhem in the arena for online. I can see. I don't know. Leave your comments below as always so I can take a read and see if it changes or alters my opinion at all. So the medic class I'm going to talk about for the remainder of this commentary. You know, the Killzone 3 vids, they're going to be coming up for this beta. I'm going to try to walk through the different classes, their special abilities, pros and cons to them, maybe some tactics and strategy involved. And some of the changes that they made for Killzone 3 adjust the abilities for the different classes, as I kind of already stated for the infiltrator. But for the medic, they changed your revive gun, whatever the heck it's called. I'm going to call it revive gun for this commentary. I'm sorry if that pisses you off. Again, fill me in on the knowledge that I don't know of Killzone, and slap it into the comments so I know what it's called. But in Killzone 2, you'd pull it out, and you could actually use it as a weapon for one, and you could revive people from about 12 feet away. But in this game, it's completely different. You actually have to walk up to that person and be just like that, and you have to be like 1.5 feet away, like super close to the guy, and then press left on the D-pad, and it goes into its animation on its own. Whereas in Killzone 2, you pulled out the gun, you aimed it at whoever you wanted to revive, and you shot it just like a gun, and it would revive the target. It's same for the engineer class, and so for the engineer, if you want to repair something, you don't actually pull out your tool. You have to walk up to the target and then press left on the D-pad, and then it goes into the animation of repairing. The nice thing about this is, for one, you're not going to be reviving people from 12 feet away. So if you're playing against a mob of medics, they have to be right on the enemies to revive them, and it makes them extremely vulnerable in that process of reviving. You can't just like run around and hide around a corner and then pop out, revive, and then duck around the corner. It's not that. It goes into that animation process. It's a very, very nice balance. The nice thing about it too is that communication comes into play. And so if you want to do a revive safely, you got to be communicating with your team, like, hey, I'm going to revive you, don't respawn. And that comes into the other aspect of the changes that they made for Killzone 3. The respawn times are a lot shorter. In Killzone 2, they were quite long, and they changed them maybe by a few seconds in this game. You know, I don't know the exact, exact amount. It's like 4 seconds or something shorter in the respawn time, it seems like. And that being said, that it changes up the medic even more. With how fast the respawns are, people are less apt to stick around to be revived. If they have the option to spawn, they're going to respawn. They're not going to wait to see if some medic's going to come over and revive them. And so you don't see me doing that many revives or even going for too many, because from my experience so far in like the 3 hours I've played at Killzone 3, every single time you try to get up to a guy that needs to be revived, he spawns. He doesn't really pay attention to what's going on in his kill cam and around his body. He's just focused on respawning. He could care less about being revived. And so that also goes back into the communication. It forms a nice balance for the medic, and they did those kind of adjustments for all the different classes, and I'll address those for upcoming vids. But that is all I can really get to so far in the Killzone 3 beta. I got a lot more to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave your comments in this video. God bless. Love you guys, and I'll see you in upcoming vids.